Hello, we're here to talk with Dr. Carol Hannum. She has invented a method for rapid healing, and we're going to hear all about that. And this is her book, The Holon Method, which teaches you pretty much everything you need to know about the Holon Method. This is her website, www.holonmethod.com. So hi, Carol.
Hey, Angel.
Great to see you.
Yeah.
You know, we go back a long way, and I know that the Holon Method is not the first method of healing that you have invented or participated in. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you arrived at the Holon Method?
Okay, yeah, very good. Okay, how I arrived at it, I think it began at age 4 when I went to the World's Fair in 1938 in Los Angeles. My mother tells a story about me being in the anatomy exhibit, and she couldn't pull me off the organs. And then I said, Mom, I want to be a doctor. And she said, oh, why don't you become a nurse? Well, I just kind of put that on the shelf. So then later on, I went through all kinds of other things to do in my life, and in 1982, I began to search inwardly and for a healing method that other than just white light. Because I've been in many groups before with, oh, let's send white light to somebody. Boring. And I don't know what it did. I don't think it did anything, personally. Yeah. So I thought, well, and then I read a book by Dinshaw called Vibrations. It's not by Dinshaw, but McAvoy and LaForest about, it's called Vibrations. Anyway, this book explained what Dinshaw did, and he used colors to shine on people with lenses on a light for various things, and this was very effective. Different colors were effective for different things. So I said, well, we use white light for remote healing, why can't we just conjure up different colors?
Mm-hmm.
So then I checked with my kinesiology skills and came up with different colors for different items in bodies, and so I used that for a while. And in retrospect, it was kind of tedious. I was shining it on through this channel up here and sending it out that channel, and I wondered why I was so tired after the session. So I wasn't really searching for anything else because it worked pretty well, but I ran across a book about using commands. And I said, well, all right, well, I mustered around with that and decided to throw it in the trash can because it's very boring again, because you spent 40 hours with the client trying to clear absolutely everything out of the body that
Wow.
you found. So it was very tedious, and I was very upset because the friend that I was working with really liked it. So what came about was a synthesis. I decided, okay, why can't I do it with words and achieve the same thing? So, I had not known of the research that Dr. Pop and Proponin had done back then about DNA research and talking to a petri dish and changing DNA. I had not known that, but I knew it somewhere. So
You knew that it was possible.
I knew it was possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to do it on a person using just kind of a skeleton kind of command. And so after I worked, I called my friend who is really skilled in kinesiology and has taught it with Jose Silva a long time ago. She's a qualified teacher at it. Anyway, so I asked her to get in a neutral space, and I said, is this real or not? Did I swipe some tumors away or pathogens? And she got the name of the person and said yes. So I was just, wow, you know, I was sailing. So that's how it actually began. That was in Hawaii, about 2001.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've been working with this for a while, and I know that just from that early experience, that was maybe the genesis of the holon method.
Mm-hmm.
How have you refined it since then? What does it look like today?
Okay, well, initially I had about 12 commands. I called them 12 commandments, and they merged into, well, let's do more, let's try more things. Eventually it got to about 30 or more commands.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, you do the emotional commands, and then you do commands on the physical level. So it went into very amazing places, like curing genetic weakness or resolving it, and using a timeline command, going back to the original ovum and working from there.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, and that really worked because it was, I worked on a Down syndrome person, and he changed, and he started talking. So, you know, the doctors, of course, said, how could that be? Something is wrong here. But anyway.
Interesting that the doctors would have that response, like something was wrong instead of
Yeah.
something was going right with him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it worked on many other cases of genetic weakness, and I'll tell you a short story about that. There was a woman from Idaho that I worked on, and she had, could not breathe out of her nostrils at all. So she talked like this, mostly. And so I said the command. I noted a deviated septum. So I did a command on that. And then I checked with her later, about in a half an hour. And I said, could you breathe for me? And she was breathing through her nose. Both nostrils.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there were several other things that happened that way. I could tell you kind of a down and dirty story about it too. There was this one woman in a class that I had, and she complained of rashes on the face and constipation. Well, I kind of put the two together, and the students all helped. And I said, okay, I think this is due to constipation. Well, there was nothing particularly wrong, except we saw a genetic weakness in the colon. So what happened, she was on the table, and we said the command to her, and then she left for the evening, came back in the morning and took me aside and said, I've got something to tell you. It was in private. She said, I had the most amazing BM this morning. I can describe it a little bit for you. I think it was TMI.
Right, yes.
So
I think as a doctor, you sort of, you can get used to perhaps hearing about that in more detail.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, she had something come out that was rather interesting. And ever since then, she has had no trouble, and her face has cleared up.
Great.
So that's one of my very favorite stories.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, let's take a little break here.
Okay.
For a moment, shall we?
Yeah.